One of the things that happens when you move from that fight or flight into freeze mode, that dorsal vagal shutdown mode, is that your mind and your body are no longer working in tandem, right? They become kind of, quote unquote, disconnected. And so a lot of the times, the way that that will oftentimes show up is that we begin to shut down, we begin to dissociate. And again, this is not meant to be like, oh, this is a bad thing, right? Dissociation has its place. It's a coping mechanism.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's just when that happens over time, obviously, there's some downsides to that as well. So when you find yourself just needing to completely retreat, it's when the text messages become too much to respond to. It's when a knock at the door becomes the thing that triggers you so much that you go hiding under your bed, right? I say this kind of jokingly, but like, if you don't laugh, you cry, right? When we talk about the brain science again, one of the other really important things to understand that I always talk about with the brain and burnout is that because all of your energy is required for your repeat fight or flight response, this is not a time for future thinking. This is not a time for planning about your future. The part of your brain, that prefrontal cortex that humans uniquely have as part of our structure of our brains, basically goes offline. And so that's where things like brain fog can come into play. That's where some of that sadness and depression can come into play because your actions are not being driven by your logical, conscious thinking brain. Your actions are being driven by your emotional, reactionary brain.